So we have some breaking news that AOC, that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has said that Tara Reade's allegations against Joe Biden must be discussed openly and frankly, and that it's legitimate to do so even in the run-up to a general election. She was asked a question about Biden and the allegations earlier tonight during a live stream. And the person basically said, look, I don't want Trump to win, but these allegations are very serious, and I want to know if you feel we should be able to talk about them. And AOC basically said, yes. I want to read you a series of statements from this live stream because I think they really underline that AOC is showing she has deep levels of integrity here, and she's not going to let partisanship get ahead of her fundamental commitment to basic justice for survivors and women. And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of us like AOC, and we see her as a future leader for left-wing movements. So she's asked about this, and she says, what you're voicing is so legitimate and real. That's why I find this kind of silencing of all dissent to be a form of gaslighting. So basically there, AOC is saying that this whole effort to bury the story, whether it was the media ignoring it for 2 or 3 weeks, whether it was the fact that pretty much no other major Democrat was talking about this, was a form of gaslighting. And I actually don't disagree. I think it was rather despicable that this story stayed under wraps for as long as it did, because whether or not you ultimately believe it, whether or not you feel the allegations are 100% credible, I do. The fact is, this is undeniably a story that deserves wall-to-wall national and indeed international coverage, and we didn't get it because sources wanted to protect Joe Biden. AOC goes on to say, I think it's legitimate to talk about these things. And if we again want to have integrity, you can't say, both believe women, support all of this until it inconveniences you, until it inconveniences us. A lot of us are survivors, and it is really, really hard and uncomfortable. Not talking about allegations is the exact opposite of integrity, and it's not okay to prioritize beating Trump over discussing sensitive issues that have legitimate backgrounds. And I think that really does demonstrate that AOC is not willing to bury this story for Joe Biden's sake. AOC is going to has said she would support the Democratic nominee, but that's no excuse to hide a story of this important with a witness as credible and as passionate, and I think as brave as Tara Reade. And why I think this is important is that AOC is taking a real stand here. It shouldn't be controversial to say that we should take these allegations seriously, and that the discussion of these allegations is perfectly legitimate, even in the run-up to an election. But it is because no one else is doing it. And I'm going to be 100% frank here. Bernie Sanders didn't talk about this. He still hasn't. Bernie Sanders has not mentioned Tara Reade, and he has not mentioned the allegations against Joe Biden. He hasn't done it. I understand why Bernie was reluctant to. He didn't want to look like he was politicizing this particular crisis, that he was trying in a last-ditch effort to win over Joe Biden based on this sort of scandal. I get that. But no one from Bernie's camp, Bernie himself, they didn't talk about this. And I think that was disappointing to a lot of people because, Bernie made the endorsement of Biden, and Bernie came out and said that Biden was a decent man, but these allegations are very, very troubling. I know myself, many other left-wing YouTubers have not ignored this story, but I do think that so many progressive senators, so many progressive congressmen and congresswomen have basically looked the other way here, and some of these forces have basically even resorted to calling Tara Reade a liar, to basically saying she's a Russian asset, that she's uncredible, that her timing reeks of pro-Trump propaganda, and all of these sorts of apologia that we would have never tolerated, and we didn't tolerate when they were launched by Brett Kavanaugh supporters at Christine Ford. We shouldn't tolerate them when they're going at Tara Reade. So I think it's incredibly brave, and I think it's incredibly encouraging to see AOC say this, to see AOC come out and make it clear that we should not ignore these stories just because they are politically disadvantageous to the Democratic Party and to our particular Democratic presidential nominee. If you want to have the mantle of the party of women's rights, of feminism, then you have to walk that walk. And it's not going to be easy to walk that walk all the time. Walking that walk sometimes might put you at short-term disadvantages. But the alternative is creating a situation in which feminists, in which survivors, in which those who support and love survivors cannot trust you to be their ally. And at the very least, AOC making it clear that she believes this story matters. It is legitimate, and it is important enough even in an election year, is a sign that the next generation of democratic socialists, the next generation of the left within the Democratic Party, has a lot going for it. Again, I've been disappointed with Bernie not talking about this story. I really am. I'm very disappointed. And I was disappointed today to see Bernie Sanders suggest that not voting for Joe Biden was irresponsible. I support Bernie's position to vote for Joe Biden as harm reduction, but I fully reject and I fully dislike this narrative that anybody who doesn't vote for Joe Biden and they're doing it from a left-wing position is being quote-unquote irresponsible. I disagree with that. So in this moment, I'm happy to see AOC take leadership, stand for women, stand for the rights of survivors, even when it goes against the Democratic nominee. That's leadership.